Thanks, Brother Caleb, my dearly beloved brethren and sisters, and my dear young people. Well, there's either two things that's happened to me tonight. I've either been utterly deceived, or you've got an amazingly mature group of young people. I was led to believe there might be about, half a dozen or a dozen young people with a few extras tonight. So that's it's pretty amazing that we've, as I said, we've got these, mature people who have got, young at heart, and they've come out on the Friday night. So that's great. So we might just, combine some of the things we're going to do tonight with some of the things we're going to bring up tomorrow, seeing as we've got a mixed audience. But hopefully we can get a little bit of interaction tonight and just talk about this question of, why the truth is not popular, why, such an amazing book doesn't capture the minds of more people. Why is there such a small group of people who hang on to the truth? I'm not just talking about the Bible, but the truth. Why is it that way? Have you ever questioned that in your own mind? You thought, you look right across Adelaide, and how many people know the truth? So what we're going to talk about first of all is about popularity. I'll get the whiteboard up here and we'll see what we can, how much we can extract. Okay. Now, so I expect some of the young people to be sort of foremost, the younger young people to be foremost in these questions, all right? So, what does it take to be popular? What do you need to have to be popular?
Charisma. iPhone 5.
Sorry, what was that?
iPhone 5.
Charisma. What else? Sporty. Or a bit buff. Sort of helps, doesn't it? What else?
Conformity to the trends.
Okay.
Cool.
Trendy. Cool. Right. Personality.
Good looking.
Sorry?
In the clique.
In the clique. I'll just put this other one down first that was sent down the front. Money. We're going to put in the clique.
Trendy, cool.
It's sort of like this one here, yeah. All the lingo and the thing, what's happening, and what to say. And, anything else? So we have a look at some of these things here. Charisma. What's charisma? Ability. An aura. Confidence and charm. But is that all it is?
So you get up and go.
Get up and go. So we've got confidence, charm, get up and go. But is that charisma?
Someone who can compose himself and able to part with information, part with the speech, and be able to turn people around in a power.
Okay, now we're getting close to what it is, isn't it? It's being able to attract people to you for whatever reasons. Like you've got knowledge, you're able to speak, you've got a good command of language or knowledge or information, and people. Charisma is being attracted to someone because of their abilities, their personality, whether it's they're sporty or whatever it might be. But charisma is that ability to be able to draw people to you, isn't it? Okay? What about sporty and buff? How does that make it popular? So it's about... Oops, not looks, goods. Looks. Again, which is down the bottom. Go.
That's what the world wants in a way they've got. What the world's image is, everyone fits the same conformity, everyone's buffed, everyone's got to conform to that particular image. If you can't, then you're a failure.
Exactly. So this sporting and buffy here applies in our society today, doesn't it? It applied to the Greek society. The Greeks were infatuated with the body. You know, there were statues up everywhere.
I heard a really good one today. They said that James Bird was God. Now he's also plays football.
Oh, no, I'm not going to go to football. You people don't even play football, Danny. But sport has become like the centrepiece of everyone's life. Like, I'm sorry, I don't know who that guy was. What was his name? Phil Nerd. But you know, so how many of us know football clubs? How many of us know football people, personalities? No. How many know, like, how many people follow the score? I mean, let's be really honest for a second. How many people, where are the crows sitting on the ladder? Who knows? Who knows? How? Come on, be honest. You know, so, you know, sport has become, you know, one of the big things in our life. If you watch the news, you can always tell whether it's worth watching. The first thing that comes up, the headlines, you know, like Phil Nerd's got an injury and missed 3 games. You know, well, it's not worth watching that news because all they'll follow is sport. But it's become the center because everything revolves around it. Money revolves around it. Our life revolves around it. You go back to work on Monday and everyone wants to talk about, you know, the scores and where, and young people have come to us and said, well, just listen to it just so you know what's happening because otherwise there's people in your ear if you don't follow what's happening.
The media is around it.
The media is all revolved around. There's so much money in it. Money, advertising. Alright? So, to be sporty and buff is popular because that's what everyone's watching, that's what everyone wants to do, that's what everyone wants to be involved with. And they can live all their dreams out of that, can't they? You know, probably most of the boys here, you know, older and younger, they can see some sporty buff guy, you know, he takes this fantastic mark, you know, boom! And you know, you can see yourself on the field, can't you? You live that thing, don't you? Is that true? Tim? But you know, we live our dreams out of some of these things. We can see ourselves there. And it's because it's attractive. It's the sort of things that people want to know about. Everybody's involved. So Trinity and Cool's the same thing. You don't know the latest lingo. You don't know the latest thing that's happening. You don't know, how to SMS. If you don't know how to do that, well, there's something wrong with you.
I don't.
I can send a message, but I know it's an MSS. SMN. So I just do like 4 words. You know, my kids go. So I say, how are you going? And I take the whole line. It's not having figures and dots and sparkles and whatever else, and a little happy smile at the bottom. But, you know, you've got to be up with that to be cool, haven't you? Because that's the expectation. You've got to have the latest thing. If you don't have the latest thing, you're not in the clique, you're not up there. So it's, it's got to be, the latest sort of stuff, isn't it? Personality. What sort of personality do you have to have to be popular? Outgoing? Well, toxic's, it's fairly trendy in some areas. But outgoing, what else? What sort of personalities attract you? Happy? Confident? Okay. Anything else? Leaders. Leadership qualities. So there's confidence, there's ability.
Sense of humour.
A sense of humour. Okay, so we can put that, we can put confident, humour, ability to lead, good looks. Why is good looks attractive? Why is that popular, good looks?
Makes stand out to people.
Okay, so you only stand out if no one else is good looking. So you stand out, what else? It appeals to the lust of the eyes. What's that mean in real terms? What does that mean? Who wants to be good looking? You always wish. No, who wants to be good looking? Come on, hands up. Well, there's a few honest people, you know, like no one would choose not to be good looking, would they? Why? Why do you want to be good looking?
So we're accepted.
You're accepted.
Social inclusion.
Socially accepted. People are attracted to good looks, aren't they? So, you know, it's a fact. If, you know, we all know in our own community that there might be in a group, you know, a group of lovely girls, but there's a standout girl who might have physical attraction, you know, and it just happens that when she walks in the room, the attention gets drawn to her. Is that true? It happens, doesn't it? We naturally are drawn to good looks. It's pleasing. What about money? Why is money important if you want to be popular?
Because it can buy you good looks.
So if everything goes right.
Buy your friends. I'll hang on. We can buy, we'll call it friends, but we'll put inverted commas around that. A lifestyle.
A lifestyle. You know, that's so true. Everything, you know, if you watch carefully how things are advertised, you know, you're getting older, you're insecure, what you need is a smart alert. It's a lifestyle thing, isn't it? Hair alert. We have smart alerts in Queensland, you have hair alerts. No, but you look at all the advertising, you know, it's advertising for new Mazda 3. How many adverts do you see? It says, you know, this is the way it's made, it's got a nice radio, this is the bars we put on it, this is the colour. How many see it? It's not that bad, is it? They're all hanging out, going to the beach, and they're all swimming. Where's the car? And they're selling a lifestyle. Yeah, if you buy one of these cars, you'll be at the beach every second day. You know, and all these girls will be flocking around you. You have a surfboard on the top. It's just fantastic. And they're selling a lifestyle, and money is allowing them to sell a lifestyle in a society where money is readily available. Well, it hasn't been up until recently anyway. So all these things are things that make us popular. Things that actually we are attracted to. Alright? So, if we look at this question, why the truth is not popular, let's just put them against these things. Where does the truth get into these things? Well, there's some of the things that you might, you know, personality might fit in. But when you look at the biblical characters and the personalities that they had, how many people were attracted to those people? People like Isaiah, Jeremiah, people like Elijah. How many of those people had, you know, a group of followers that were all attracted to them because of their charisma or their personality? Not many, were there? So the things that we, as a human being, the things that we find attractive, the things that we see as being things that should make us popular, are things that are not found in the truth. So the Lord Jesus Christ comes, and what does Isaiah say about the Lord Jesus Christ, about his appearance, his personality?
his looks. What does Isaiah say about it? Zoom into chapter first. 53. Let's have a look at that, eh? This is the Lord Jesus Christ. Isaiah 53, we might have a look at a verse in 52. There's a verse in chapter 52, verse 13, and we might read 13 and 14. Behold, my servant shall deal prudently, he shall be exalted and extolled and be very high. As many were astonished at thee, his visage was so marred more than any man, and his form more than the sons of men. So he goes on in chapter 53, and it says, verse 2, for he shall grow up before him as a tender plant, and as a root out of dry ground. He hath no form nor comeliness. And when we shall see him, there is no beauty that we should desire him. He's despised and rejected of men. He's a man of sorrows. He's acquainted with grief. And we hid, as it were, our faces from him. He was despised and we esteemed him not. So as far as Israel was concerned, the Lord Jesus Christ was the last person that ought to be their Messiah. There was nothing attractive about him at all. Nothing. In fact, his whole demeanour was something that repulsed them. And yet God chose that man to come and bring the truth to that nation, to give them life. So immediately, we look at what the truth's all about, even in that depiction there. The very centre of our belief, there's a man who was despised and rejected of men, who was crucified by God's own people. We want to go back and start at the very beginning and look at another aspect as we sort of try and develop this idea. Right back in the beginning with Cain and Abel. Yeah, at every beginning, when God chose to bring a form of religion in the world where he would bring men back to him, every time he established something, he made this same point very, very clearly. Now let's go back. We know the story of Cain and Abel, don't we? Someone want to just tell me the story of Cain and Abel quickly? Okay, it's Genesis chapter 4. You probably didn't all hear that, so we'll go back there quickly and have a look what happens Genesis chapter 4. So we know what happened Genesis chapter 3. Adam and Eve chose the thinking of the serpent and chose to rebel against the commandment of God, and of course sin entered the world and death by sin, and then God instituted a form of religion that was to bring them back to him through forgiveness, of course. Now, as Caleb just reiterated for us, we read in chapter 4 that verse 2 verse 1, Adam knew his wife Eve, and she conceived and bare Cain, and said, I have gotten a man from Yahweh, and she bare again his brother Abel. And Abel was a keeper of sheep, but Cain was a tiller of the ground. And in the process of time it came to pass that Cain brought of the fruit of the ground an offering unto Yahweh, and Abel brought also of the fruit of the firstlings of his flock, and of the fat thereof. And Yahweh had respect unto Abel and to his offering, but unto Cain and into his offering he had not respect, and Cain was very wroth, and his countenance fell. What was the problem? Why was Abel's offering accepted and Cain's not? Okay, Abel bought what Yahweh wanted. All right, what happened to Cain? What did he say? With the quotation up there, but for Cain and his offering had no regard, so Cain was very angry and his face fell. And Yahweh said to Cain, why are you angry and why has your face fallen? If you do well, will you not be accepted? And if you do not well, sin is crouching at the door. Its desire is for you and you must rule over it. So he said, Cain, you know what's right. You know what's right. And if you do what's right, you will be accepted. But if you don't, sin will consume your life. So what was Cain's attitude to God? Put it in modern language.
Worship God the way He chose to exalt Himself.
Exactly. He said, God, you'll accept what I bring and the way I wish. God, you'll accept me the way I am. You ever heard that said? God will accept you the way you are. So he brought his own, what he thought was right for God. What happened? What did God say as a result of this? So Cain killed his brother Abel and God said, you're cursed, go away from my presence. And he was sent away from the presence of God, wasn't he? And God said, if you don't bring what I want, Cain, I don't want you. Now that's pretty harsh, isn't it? That's the sort of thinking that's being challenged in our modern world. So he says, if you don't bring what I want, Cain, don't come at all. And he repeated that in the time of Malachi. In the letter of the Laodiceans, he says the same thing. In Malachi, he says, these offerings that you give are so pathetic. There's no heart in it. You're not even interested in me. So I'd rather someone shut the doors and you didn't bring any offerings. It would be better, God says, than what you bring. Because you bring what you don't want. You don't bring the firstlings of my flock. You don't bring the perfect breeding ram. You give me what one with the lame leg or it's got some disease and look, I can't really eat it, it's no good for breeding, so I might as well take it down to the tabernacle and offer it. That's what they were giving to God. Because I don't want that. I want the firstling. I want the best. And of course he established those things in the law. So right from the very beginning of a form of religion, God says, you've got to give what I ask for. What about when we come to the next form of religion that God instituted to bring men to him? What was that? The law. What happened when God established the law, the system of law under Moses, and it was going to be instituted on that day? What happened?
They said they don't do it.
Yeah, that was back at Sinai, but when they actually instituted the practice of the law of Moses and they set up the priesthood, what happened? The very outset of that system, what happened?
You mean the golden calf?
No, it was
Going in with the fire,
Aaron's sons, right? When the priesthood was instituted, Aaron's sons were given the duty of being the priest. What did Nadab and Abihu, Nadab and Abihu do? They offered. What was strange fire?
They got it elsewhere.
Exactly. It wasn't according to what God had said. And what happened to those two boys?
They were killed.
They were struck dead. And what did he say to Aaron? What did God say to Aaron?
He said, don't weep for them.
He said, don't shed a tear.
Yeah.
When we look at that, do you find it hard? Do you find it hard to grasp that situation? Your two boys, they come in, they do the wrong thing. God takes their lives. Aaron, do not shed a tear for them. So right at the beginning, when God was going to bring them back to use the law to try and get them to realise their position, the very day it was instituted, he takes the life of two of those priests because they did what he said they were not to do. Now that thinking seems harsh. I find it harsh. And I'm sure Aaron was struggling on that day. When we get to the gospel going to the Gentiles, What happened when the gospel was being established in the first century? What did God do there?
He got rid of Sapphira and her husband because of...
You've got a set of notes down the back.
I'm in jail.
Exactly. You know, all the ecclesia was gathered together. It was fascinating. I might just flick through a couple of these. Ananias and Sapphira. It was an amazing time. The ecclesia was building up, and the brethren were multiplied. And everybody had all things in common. There was this unbelievable unity amongst the brotherhood. And people from all around the areas had come together and supported. There was people from all over the Roman Empire had come and they'd put in goods to help the poor. The ecclesia was like it's never been before. And in the midst of that, Ananias and Sapphira are cut down by God. You know, there's probably bigger lies told. But God, in every one of these occasions, was establishing the principle of worship. You come to me in the way I want you, way I ask, and in total honesty and clarity. And the result of that, of course, was great fear came upon all the ecclesia and upon as many as heard these things. Who do we worship? Who is it that we do worship? God. Who is God? He's our Creator. He's our Father. He's our Sustainer. He's our Comforter. He's the one who's promised to give us life, to share with Him forevermore. You think about that. You think about who we are, and we come to Him to find a way back, to find unity with Him from our sinful position. Is it no wonder that He says, if you come to me, you come in the way I provide, in the way I determine. You don't come the way you want to come. And He wants us to have fear. You go to Hebrews, have a look at Hebrews. Look at this, what this sort of fear is. It's not a fear of being totally afraid and not wanting to come there. It's a reverence. And of course this is the reference talking about the children as they came to Sinai. Hebrews chapter 12. And he ties it all together and he says in verse 24, "And to Jesus the mediator of a new covenant, and to the blood of sprinkling that speaketh better things than that of Abel, see that we refuse not him that speaketh. For if they escaped not who refused him that spake on earth, much more shall not we escape if we turn away from him that speaketh from heaven, whose voice then shook the earth. But now he hath promised, saying, Yet once more I will shake not the earth only, but also heaven. And this word, yet once more, signifieth the removing of those things that are shaken, as of things that are made, that those things which cannot be shaken may remain. Wherefore, he says, we receiving a kingdom which cannot be moved, let us have grace whereby we may serve God acceptably with reverence and godly fear. For our God is a consuming fire." So when we come to God, He says, I want you to remember who I am. I've created you, I've given you life. And all of you have transgressed against me. You've ignored me, you've rebelled against me. What position are we in then? We're enormously privileged. But you see what happened in the times of Jeremiah. Jeremiah chapter 6 verse 12, Jeremiah 8 verse 12, 6 verse 15 I think it is, 8 verse 12. where the people had so used to worshipping God, they'd gone through the ritual, and they were coming just like Cain, and well, God, you're going to accept whatever I give you. And then when they were challenged by Jeremiah about the way of life and their worship, they couldn't even blush. They were not even embarrassed of the way they worship God. And they said, well, what should we be embarrassed? This is who we are. This is what we got. That's the sheep I'm given. You've got to accept it. And they didn't even care. And they forgot this powerful lesson that when we come to God, we are coming to the Creator, the sustainer of life. But we have to be humble, don't we? That's a humbling thing. We actually have to submit. What Brother Carter says, I think it's Brother Carter who says, someone might correct me on that the very central portion of our worship before God is all about submission. So here was Cain. He wanted to do it his way. But Nadab and Abihu, well, we can do that. We can do it our way, God. But Ananias and Sapphira who think that they can deceive God and they can have a pretend religion that looks good to everybody else. And God says, no, I won't accept it. When you come to me, you must remember who I am. So there's this powerful theme, and right throughout the scriptures, the truth has always opposed the attitudes and the feelings of society. We've always been protesters, haven't we? But what's happening to our ecclesias today? What's happening to you and me today? Are we still protesters against the society? I don't mean long beards and placards, in Rundle Mall. But I mean, are we protesting against society? What are the sorts of things that are breaking down our society? Okay. Tolerance. What else? Equal opportunity.
There you go.
I've got two answers there. Does that cover yours, Matt?
Oh, there you go, whatever.
Whatever.
That's another one.
That's another one. Thanks, Matt. Just an interesting thing. Oh, we might look later. What else? Now, can we define a few of those? What sorts of things?
Well,
How is immorality pulling our society apart?
Connects with your second and third point. So it connects with your equal Trinity and human rights.
Very good. It does. It does. It expresses, this sort of human rights to express ourselves the way we feel, to find our full potential and all this. Yeah, it encroaches oftentimes on immorality. Respect. Actually, how do we develop respect? How does God develop respect? Or how do we develop respect in our children? Or how do we develop respect, in anyone?
Understanding boundaries.
Okay, so we'll just put a little thing up here, right? This is a bit of a side. Boundaries.
Respect and honour.
Honour.
Respect.
Who said that? Kerry. Julie.
It's going to say respect is good.
By discipline.
That's something to read by example.
Exactly. The discipline is a very broad thing, isn't it? But there's boundaries. I want you to just think of the scenario back in the Garden of Eden. You can eat all the tree, but don't touch the tree that's in the midst of the garden. Through the tree next to the garden. So Adam and Eve, listen to the serpent, take the fruit. God says, what have you done? Oh, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter, just keep going. How much respect would they have for God? How much you reckon they would have had? Now, when you for those of you who are parents now, some of you more mature young people have got children. When your child does something and you say, don't do that or I'll give you a smack. And they do it and you don't smack. Or whatever boundary you might put in there. Let's be politically correct. But what happens? What happens if you use that method?
They don't believe it's
They don't believe it, so you start saying, right, okay, 1, 2, 3, and then they sort of look at you thinking, 4, 5, they come over. And in the end you count to 100. And you give up counting, Why don't they respect you? Because you don't follow up what you say. You don't mean it. So in the beginning, God taught respect Adam and Eve like that. He said, if you touch it, you're going to die. Well, Adam and Eve, you're going to die. And instantly they had respect for God. There was teaching them that every form of it, you've got to teach them respect. And so they had to be disciplined. There had to be boundaries, and if they were crossed, there were consequences. To teach us respect. It's probably the single biggest thing that's missing in our society. And how many people here, let's say, okay, from if you're 50 and above, how many people, 50 and above, went to mum's fridge and just took whatever they wanted, whenever? How many people? Yeah, how many people under 25 go to the fridge whenever they want it? And how many people would go to a group of young people with a supper on? How many times do you think you find someone in the fridge and there's already supper out there? Ever seen that before?
Yeah. Oh,
But even simple things like that, I say to people, I wouldn't even take something out of my mother's fridge without asking. And I said at the Bible school, they laugh. Normally people ask my mother. My mother, why I don't take anything out of the fridge. So you've got all, 6.5 ounces of, raspberry cherry left. But there was, because, I got respect for my mum and dad. And they taught me respect by discipline. What other sort of areas of immorality are affecting our society?
Too many bales in the world. Like bale TV, bale football, bale cricket, bale.
Okay, we'll put that as another category, idolatry. Like AFL. Oh. Rugby. Okay. What about this immorality thing? What else? Okay. Okay, so your word doesn't mean anything anymore. You promise yourself like a marriage covenant you make. It doesn't always hold true anymore, does it? There's no problems with that in society, and of course, it has great effect upon our society.
To say, Rob, that the increase in immorality really has gone up with the decrease in morality and ethics and values. So the reason why immorality has taken off, people service morals, ethics, and values. And we see that in sport, we see it in big business and everything else. It's preaching visions. But no one wants to live it because they all want to get ahead and get ahead.
That's right. So they're prepared to do whatever.
Yeah, it's not just the obvious things of loose morals, whatever it takes.
No, exactly. Whatever it takes. There's this selfish attitude that means that I need to get there. I don't care what I do to get there. Whatever it takes, as you said. What is equal opportunity? Is equality something found in the Bible? The first? Okay, so how does that fit? Okay, so she sought equality with the other end. Is that what God wanted? No. So what is did God, we know that we're going to be equal unto the angels and live forever. We're going to share the same life. But are we going to be equal in that sense? Is there equality in heaven amongst the angels? How do we know that?
Well, there's different gradations. Different gradations of angelic beings.
There is. There's an archangel. Where's a classic example of that in the Bible? Of the different levels of angels.
Standing in the presence of God.
Yes, someone called the angel of his presence. What about in Daniel? Daniel gets to the end of the 70 years. He pours his heart out to God, saying, the 70 years are up, God. What's happening? He prays for 3 weeks. And what was happening while he was praying and crying his heart out for the fulfillment of that prophecy? What was happening in the palace of Persia?
The angels were working, weren't they? They came and apologised that the king of Greece and Persia held the angels up a little bit.
Well, Gabriel was there. He's trying to change the king of Persia to get the decree made for the Jews to come back. And he calls Michael to come and help him. So there's a classic example of the difference. So what's the scriptural principle? The world keeps screaming equality, 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 equality. Everything is about equality. No matter what you're talking about, it's equality, equality, equality. What's the Bible message?
Wouldn't it be about when it says that Jews and Gentiles and that we preach to? I guess in other words, when we're preaching the gospel, there's no one ruled out of that.
Okay, so what was the principle in that? Was it equality?
Levels of responsibility.
Okay, so what's the principle of the truth?
We're all children of God, no matter colour or race or gender, but you've still got those other values that come, I guess.
You brought in, one of the last one, Ecclesiastes 12, where Solomon said, fear God and keep his commandments. This is the whole man. This is what we call the whole man.
So, in the ecclesia, do we have equality?
We're all one Christ Jesus.
Oh, fantastic. That's the scriptural principle is not equality. The scriptural principle is oneness or unity. There's neither Jew nor Greek, bond or free, male or free. We're all equal in Christ. We're one.
Scripture has a different perspective of equality than the world has.
That's right.
That's why you want to look at it.
So you see, the world sees and they quote some of the scriptures to support equality. So, we see these things are things that are attacking our society, that are breaking down our society, having a negative effect in our society. But in our own lives, are we protesting against those things?
Well, you dare to do that. These days you dare to do that.
Okay. Why?
Because of legalism.
Okay, so we have pressure on it with this human rights call. They legislate that you can't speak against certain groups, certain ideas. So are we personally, though, in our own lives and our own ecclesias, are we protesting against these sorts of things that are killing our society? Are we tolerant of people's lifestyles? Are we? Should we be?
We speak up when we can, I guess.
That's right. You take opportunity to speak the truth when you can. Absolutely. So you don't get down to play cards and run the law. we're not talking that sort of protest, but as individuals and in our characters, are we not tolerant of the lifestyle that people are choosing in our world? Do we seek unity in our ecclesia, or do we seek equality? The way the world seeks equality is that we're all going to be equal, I'm just going to be just a little bit more equal than the rest of you. And that's all the problem in ecclesial life everywhere. It's been there, where people seek this equality. They don't seek unity. Where we realise we're all different bits, aren't we? That put into the one to make that one body whose head is Jesus Christ. Human rights. Do we adopt the thinking of the world, or we in our own families realise how many rights do we have?
No, it's not about service.
We don't have any rights, do we? Exactly, we don't have rights. But we have this wonderful opportunity to respond to a loving Heavenly Father. We don't have rights to anything. But whatever, is that our attitude to family life, ecclesial life, or whatever? Darling, I'd really like you to mow the lawn today, or whatever. I mean, we laugh at that, but isn't that the attitude that's expressed by so many people? Immorality, pretty clear, pretty easy. But as Tim said, it's not just the broad, simple things of immorality. It's a whole selfish attitude of selfish indulgence and expression. Are we selfish in our attitudes? You know, how many of us fall into this category? And how many of us are irresponsible and don't, take responsibility for our failings? So, we have lost in a great degree our spirit of protest against society. And you see, these things, of course, this is why the truth is unpopular, is because it's not things that rest easy with the flesh. They're not things that people are comfortable with. As you express, like, you can't talk like this because society says you can't. We're actually protesting, when we live the truth, particularly, we're protesting against our society. And the society despises us. There's a quotation in Galatians. You have a look at Galatians. Probably look at it a little bit later. I just want to briefly bring it up tonight. It's in Galatians chapter 4. And he's talking about Isaac and Ishmael. And he says in verse 29 of chapter 4, "But as then he that was born after the flesh persecuted him that was born after the Spirit, even so it is now." So if we stand up for those things that are right, if we try to promote God in our life, we will be persecuted. Who wants to be persecuted? None of us want to be. So that's why the truth's unpopular. Oops, I shouldn't have showed you that. Why then? I mean, this is what we're going to look at. Why did God take such drastic steps to eradicate sin from the world? Why did he do that?
Because it will have its outworking in the end. He's put enmity in the beginning, the hate between two seeds.
Very good. Now, how can we say that we might be able to remember it? Sorry?
The salvation of the creation.
Very good. That's nice, isn't it? The salvation of the creation. Okay, so why? Okay, so how is that going to save this, the society or the creation?
It will be spirit that will win out in the end.
But what's the big problem with sin? Is it really that bad?
The big problem with sin is it destroys relationships.
Exactly. It does. Look at
It's all about self. Sin is about self.
It is. You look at the first pair, Adam and Eve. Was ever a closer a married couple in the world? She was made physically out of his body. There was a unity there that's never existed with anyone since. And when sin entered the world, here was this couple that were one together. What happened? What were the first words that come out of their mouths. God, the woman you gave me. So that relationship was just smashed from the beginning. And what Steve said is right. Now, how I express it this way is that sin is extremely antisocial and ultimately destructive. Every single sin fits that category. It's extremely antisocial. It's selfish. And any form of selfishness is antisocial. So the world indulges itself in this, and we're telling them that the things that they're doing is actually breaking down society. The things that feel good to them as persons, breaking down society. So why is the truth so unpopular? In simple terms, why is it so unpopular?
Because it runs against the grain of humanity at large.
Creates a conscience. There's wages. Sorry? There's wages. Wages is dead.
So it's challenging everything that's nice and comfortable and pleasing to the natural man, isn't it?
Right, as John says, sin is lawlessness. So it breaks down all the laws that God's given us. Lawlessness is about the main when it comes to stuff.
So, you know, what's the thing that we really love to do most of all? Come on, everyone under 20 answer that. What's the thing? If you've got something you really want to do more than anything else, what is it? Hey, why? Oh, you could be right. I think you could be right. Well, there's a bigger dimension than that.
You satisfy your needs, your wants.
Okay.
Yourself.
I think there's something that's actually, we crave to do even greater than just simple things like that. What do you reckon it might be? Paul tells us in Romans. We might have a look at tomorrow, seems like about a third of the way through tonight. What is it?
Greed.
Pardon? The last time I thought about that was a fair while ago. What is it?
Doing stuff.
Come on. I can't, you've got such short memories for young people, I can't believe it. Like, you know, the things that you really crave to do more than anything else. It's not something, some one simple act. Something.
Succeed. Be popular.
Be popular.
Not Facebook.
Sleep. Is the pursuit of happiness.
I think there's something that really, you know, we actually feel a very incredible power to do. What's the Bible?
Whatever we're told not to do.
Who told you that? There's one honest sister. Alright, you know, it's true. The things that we find so hard to fit into, the things that we want to do more than anything else, is the very thing we're told not to do. Alright, now after the meeting, I don't want anyone to go out and have a look at the special supplements. And you know straight away, what is it? You know, immediately the flesh is fighting that. You know, it's the 40 km/h speed limit on the Hay Plains in the Christmas holidays. When there's not a workman or a machine to be seen. How do you go? Tim?
Don't get a holiday.
You know, we justify them. That's dumb, I don't do that. It's a simple thing, you know, but, you know, God expects us, He wants us to say, Sporty, you're still right. But how many reasons can you bring up?
That's a mile an hour, by the way.
How many reasons can you bring up within a millisecond of why you shouldn't have to do 40 kilometres an hour? How many reasons can you bring up? Without notes, without preparation? And how long can you go on about it? And at midnight or 1 o'clock in the morning. I'd probably ask your wives. It's just, it's something, and that's what Romans says.
Wives always go faster.
I'll stay out of that argument. So everywhere we look about the truth, it's challenging the basic nature that we all bear. And that's why the truth's unpopular. I'm going to have to pick up some of these thoughts tomorrow, which will be quite good. It'll fit in. It's only going to be short tomorrow. I've been warned. But, you know, when we look at just the simple basic things of the truth, we ought to expect it to be unpopular. But we also can expect it to have amazing and miraculous results upon those who want to listen to that message. Because it's the message that actually tells us all about us. There's not a book in the world that reveals the human heart like the Bible. It actually reveals who we really are, what we really are. And it reveals to us what we can become. But our world's all about what we can get now. They're not interested in tomorrow. They want it now. You know, you've got to buy something. Oh, you haven't got the money. It doesn't matter. You just pull your card out. You want it now. And we know how destructive that whole credit system has been and the credit mentality has been on the world. In so many ways. We're going to have to wrap it up. But just think about all the things that are special about the truth, and every one of those things is a protest against the human mind. So when we try to make the truth popular, we make it so people will accept it, we're destroying the truth. We're not giving people anything. We're allowing them to do what Cain did and Nadab and Abihu. We're not bringing them to God. We're bringing the image of God down to their level. So we expect that people will not, readily accept the truth. But in that is this wonderful power and privilege to change us to be like unto God. So look, we're going to have to leave it now. Thank you very much.